Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening to me for the next few minutes. So, cybersecurity, as mentioned by the executive CEOs today morning, that it's one of the top risks on any CRO dashboard. So, I just want to give you some insights of what's going on in the cybersecurity financial services landscape. The attacks surface is really increasing. It's not going down. With the boom of fintech, the boom of technology, with having the financial services very much integrated, built into technology. So the experts anticipate that there will be around $21 million of attack this year, and the expectation that by 2021, there will be around $6 trillion of breaches and damages from cybersecurity. The attacks are being really sophisticated, they're increasing. We could see that 80% of the attacks are well known, 5% are unidentified attacks, and 15% are complex attacks. So the easy attacks are very easy. They're being carried out by many people, whether they're script kiddies, whether they're normal people, and they're really increasing. We can see them very much happening. The number of cybersecurity breaches and incidents are really increasing. They have been tripled actually from 2014 till 2017 and 18. They've tripled many times. The annualized average cost of cybercrime has rapidly increased. It was almost $12 million in 2014. Now we're speaking around $18 million a year. The increase is really going fast. And the bad news that the biggest target in the industry is the financial services. All the money sits in the banks and it's all digital. And we have all the cyber criminals behind that. So the amount of attacks is really increasing. And with all the money that banks are spending, all the money things are being spent, the attacks are not stopping. So it's a big question to everyone. Are we spending the money? Are we spending the controls at the right place? So having a look, where do we really protect? Where do we really spend our controls at is something really critical. There are many kinds of attacks, and organizations keep on spending on a lot of different controls, from firewalls, from advanced malware protection, from DDoS protection. But as per the research that was carried by Accenture for more than 340 banks in 2017, the top two costly attacks that cost a lot of money to banks and bring services down are the following. The first attack is the distributed denial of service. We've seen a lot of distributed denial of service. One of the recent news that was there last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, a big association from the US, from the Dutch police took down a big gang that were carrying a lot of distributed denial of service attacks. Last year, in November, they closed almost 8 banks internationally. This is one of the first collaboration that we've seen here in the industry, collaborating between multiple countries to close down a big website that was called WebStressor. WebStressor is a website. You just go online, pay like $10, and you can get to attack any website with a distributed denial of service. So it was a gang operating. It was a criminal as a service being offered from the cyberspace. People just go online, pay some money using crypto or going through some brokers of payment gateways that you cannot do a chargeback on that. I've personally tried that. You can do a payment and you cannot do a chargeback. It goes through multiple payment processors. So that, I would say that cyber criminal activity association that was doing a lot of damage to financial services across the world, and we had an impact here in Oman. I'll be sharing some results after the slide, was taken down last Tuesday by the Europol. It is one of the first takedowns of such a big gang. The second attack that cost organizations and banks specifically a lot of money is the phishing and social engineering. Phishing and social engineering remains on the top most costly kind of cybersecurity attacks. And of course, we have the different kind of normal, I would say, attacks. The malicious insiders, the internal fraud, the internal users keep on being as one of the risk factors. What we want to present here is what's going here in Oman, basically. Oman Data Park operates a 24/7, 365 security operations center, and we serve the financial services. We also serve different service lines like oil and gas, government, and the figures that we came from our security operations center is about the attacks we've seen here in Oman, and these are real life figures of banks that operate. The highest number of attacks we've seen as a quantity and a volume is the fake mobile applications. We've seen a lot of fake mobile applications trying to impersonate banks here in Oman. So what the malicious users do basically, they go and publish a reverse engineered mobile app, looks exactly like the bank's application. They inject some malware, they inject some, I would say, adware into that. So there are two ways to carry activities on that. It's whether they will steal the credentials of the genuine users and try to do reply attacks on that by trying to log into their mobile app, by compromising the device completely, compromising the one-time password, and doing financial fraud, and we've seen incidents like that. And the other kind of revenue that malicious users are able to generate from fake mobile apps is the adware. They inject advertisements, and they're able to inject cookies, they're able to inject scripts that really monitor the behavior of the users browsing applications and browsing services using their mobile app. The attack that we've also seen is the fake phishing website, the typical e-crime kind of service. Someone goes on the internet, carries a complete fake online banking website that looks exactly like your bank or exactly like your financial services, and then tries to steal the credentials from your users and does a reply attack and does financial activities. What we've seen new actually in the last 12 months is the breached credentials. Breached credentials was not there on our dashboard actually for 2016, 2017, but on 2017, 2018, we've seen a lot of breached credentials. This risk is really emerging, and with a lot of breaches that are happening to the biggest social media networks and professional social media networks like LinkedIn credentials, most of professionals use LinkedIn. And we've seen here active banks in Oman that their employees are using the same password on their Outlook web exchange, the same password on the LinkedIn, and when the LinkedIn password is really cracked and it's dumped into paste bin and dumped into one of the websites that's freely available, basically any normal user can just take that username and password and just do a reply simple attack and log into the Outlook web access and just get into your email. So we've seen a lot of breached credentials of our customers that we're protecting. We have monitors, so we monitor domain names, we monitor a lot of kind of credentials. So the kind of breached credentials is really getting more populated. DDoS, thanks God, it was the lowest of volume, but it was the biggest in pain and hard time. We had around 23 gig of a concurrent traffic of DDoS of a bot of around 95,000 IPs attacking one of the customers, one of the top banks here in country. It was a concurrent distributed denial bot attack on one of the financial services. And we are linking that attack with the crime activity that had on WebStressor. So the kind of attacks that are happening here in the country are increasing. Financial services are more exposed to the public. People are, as the CEO panel mentioned today, everything is on a click. So we're facing more kind of challenges. What we're seeing and what we are expecting, some of the emerging threats. One of the emerging threats, they're not always technical. Regulatory risks are on top of the dashboards too. GDPR is one of the things that banks, CROs, bank CISOs, any organization in the country really has to look at. The EU has put very strict policy. It starts from $30 million up to a percentage of 30% of your total revenue if you really breach any EU citizen data, even if you're not operating in the EU zone, you know. We had to go through a complete due diligence in Oman Data Park to ensure that if we have any customer on our systems, whether it's a public cloud system or is a private cloud system that is from the EU, because EU goes beyond the EU zone. It doesn't only stick. So every organization that has EU citizen information hosted in that is costing a lot of money. As per the stats, it will cost organizations in the US, big kind of organizations that have 1,500 plus employees, around $1 million to start up with the EU GDPR compliance. That's one of the things we're saying. The start date for the compliance is 25th of May, so we really need to keep on our eyes on that. The other thing that we really see, it's emerging, it had materialized a lot of financial services here in country and in the region is the supply chain cybersecurity. We are always concerned about our people, our employees, our customers, but the supply chain, the people that really service us, the people that really come and work with us. What if something happens and they get breached? Can we really be breached from that? It's not easy to get into a bank. It's not easy to really dump a USB anymore into one of the PCs. Things are changing, the dynamics are changing, and the bad users, the hackers, the people, the criminalists are really getting they are way ahead of us. We can see the numbers. We're spending money. I'm sure there are a lot of CFOs sitting here. They see a lot of money being thrown to cybersecurity, to information security, but still, breaches are happening. We're still having incidents. We still have calls happening at the night. So the techniques are getting advanced. So supply chain security is very critical, and we see it as one of the emerging risks. Crime as a service. Crime as a service, the recent news of the distributed denial of service was good news, honestly, to the world. And it's also news that collaboration is very important. If we don't really collaborate, although we compete, but if we collaborate as entities along with the regulator, with the association, it will really help us get away with that. Couple of recommendations for cybersecurity, beside hiring us as Oman Data Park Managed Security Services to provide you services, is get the basics right. You know, you need to really get the basics right, the basic foundation of cybersecurity. Awareness, passwords, tightening up your controls, taking things more seriously, and working with the basics, patch management, you know. Just get to the basics. There's no point of investing millions of dollars of advanced malware protection. You know, it's really shocking. Advanced malware attacks are very of low severity from a financial crisis perspective to financial services. You really need to get the basics right. The other thing is also you need to have different kind of tests. We're very good in BCP tests. Semi-annually, quarterly, annually, I would say. Minimum, it would be an annual drill test for business continuity. Everyone moves from his office, goes to a DR site, gets his laptops on, tests his business continuity procedures, policies, business operations. But has there been any single bank here in country that has done a cybersecurity drill? What happens if a malware, a ransomware, one of the ransomware families gets injected to one of the critical business applications, let's say into your SWIFT, into your RTGS, into your ACH? What would be your readiness from a response perspective? Are you ready to respond to that? Do you have the set scenarios how to respond to an attack during crisis? Carrying out both technical and a procedure kind of tests are very critical in our industry. Finally, is breakout through innovation. You know, innovation continues to happen. A lot of new technologies, a lot of new fintechs are coming up. Are we a showstopper to that, or are we enablers? The last word I would like to say, cybersecurity must be an enabling function, not defeating. We should support innovation. We cannot stop innovation. We've seen that. You know, everyone was saying the cloud is not secure, we cannot go to the cloud. The game has completely changed now. If you're on-prem, you're not secure. Trust me. If you're on-prem, you're not secure. Who has the capability to operate a 24/7, 365 SOC with high-end people, very qualified, highly paid? I would say starting from $150,000 to $225,000 a year. Keeping them travel, keeping them on the edge. It's very costly. It's just like the story before. People used to keep their money under the bed. It was unsafe, so people decided to really keep their money with your banks. Thank you very much. Any questions? We'd be more than happy to answer. Yes, sir. Make it easy, Ahmed, please.
Bushi, Information Security Bank Sahar. Mr. Maqbool earlier mentioned that we should look at, joining the threat intelligence platform to support us in, assessing ourselves against the cybersecurity threat that are happening across the world. And I suppose also Central Bank of Oman really supports that initiative, and they keep on, bombarding us with similar observation. However, what I've noticed, we're living in an age where, information gets across in real time. The moment you have ransomware, WhatsApp messages gets bombarded with so many messages on ransomware. Google, you search ransomware, you'll get exactly, what country, what location is being, attacked by ransomware or phishing DDoS attack. However, the issue that I'm suffering, we as Omanis face, is we don't have an information repository in Oman. So if I was to join a threat intelligence and I'm trying to, assess myself against an attack that is happening in Europe, US, I do see the added value, but then again, being a closed network as Oman, we have Omantel as a telecom company, and a lot of our network are through Omantel. an attack that happens in any entity here in Oman, or whatever phishing attack or DDoS attack that comes across any bank, the similar attack happens on other banks, even ministries. And I've noticed a lot of us keep these information behind closed doors. We don't really want to disclose them. And for me, I would rather have a threat intelligence that gives me information on Oman.
Sure.
When I search cybersecurity Oman, all I find is something that has happened 5 years or 6 years ago on Bank Muscat.
I find something else, Ahmed. I find your picture on LinkedIn. All right, just to answer your question, it's a very valuable question, and I think the mindset of CISOs here in the country is really changing and it's really evolving. What you've mentioned is really of a very importance, because what happens, as you rightly said, there's let's say a DDoS attack, there's a ransomware attack, there's a targeted phishing attack, and all the IPs we get are US IPs or IPs that are not related to the country, whereas we have a lot of bot IPs in Oman. We have a lot of bot IPs on the three ISP networks we have in the country. They have a lot of bots, a lot of machines are infected, but we don't have that visibility. So it doesn't really make sense to pay like the threat intelligence platform from the top providers. It's a lot of money, but would not really help you in your daily decision making or in your decision making during an attack time. So I'm not in a position to do any announcements today, but I would tell you something. We are very closely working with the Omani Banking Association, with Mr. Ali, along with the blessing of Central Bank, as the memo that was circulated from Central Bank is they will be encouraging the industry to look into cyber security threat intelligence and for the banks to work on a formality to share information. So what we've been working with Oman Banking Association is to make a neutral kind of a platform that's not really biased by any vendor or by any technology or any commercial entity, that banks here can anonymously, without breaching any confidentiality or data, to share threat attack information that will really safeguard our citizens, they will safeguard our people, and will minimize the impact of a loss. In the end of the day, when a bank loses money, it's our money that's being lost. It's our money that's being taken from account. So I hope that answered you partially, Ahmed. All right, so thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of the summit. Have a good one.